of the hearing. His withdrawal was just going to be by paperwork because he didn't retain him for this case, and so I let him withdraw. But he assured me that he forwarded the information about this hearing and then re-forwarded a link to him yesterday. So we'll give him time to see if he's going to come in or not.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and just take up Miss Henry's case.
Sure. No problem.
So, Miss Henry, I don't see Preston Patterson on here either. And Mr.
Yes, Judge.
Yeah, Mr. Patterson was not retained for this case. Am I getting the two mixed up? Yeah,
Judge, I believe he was on both.
Yeah, but he's not now. Okay. We're on the record in Patterson versus Fleckenacre. The petitioner does not appear. He's previously been represented by Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson sent him. This is the one that we had the 11 o'clock paperwork. Yes. This is the one that I spoke to him about. I apologize, Miss O'Hara. That is not correct on your case. So on this case, 23 DM 35, the court was assured that Mr. Preston Patterson was made aware of today's hearing and sent him a link. And you have filed a verified motion to adopt what's de facto.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Case. So are you still asking for supervised parenting time Monday and Wednesdays from 5 till 8?
That's correct, Your Honor. Yes.
By paternal grandmother?
Yes. Paternal great-grandmother. She's Preston's grandmother, but yes.
Okay. And your client signed a verified application. So she indicated the family is equally concerned about his drinking and what's going on with him right now.
They are, Your Honor.
Okay. And he doesn't really have any stability because he doesn't have a residence and anything that's too stable at this point, correct?
Correct. And he actually has not seen the child since the first part of January. I mean, not seen the child at all, but prior to that, he was doing supervised time with paternal great-grandmother. So he's not really had, I mean, he does FaceTime calls. We did ask for reasonable phone calls. So he has been doing FaceTime calls. But my client indicates that he's told her he's traveling for work. Not really sure the validity of that statement, but nonetheless, he hasn't seen her since the beginning of January.
All right, so I'm going to award the respondent residential custody. I'm still going to keep it joint until you file a motion for sole and you can prove these somewhat incapable or unfit at this point.
Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just accepted a phone number that just came into the waiting room. They're present now. I'm just not sure who it is.
Well, they're going to have to turn their video on, have to announce themselves.
Use another number.
You can't use it.
Yeah, this is Danny McCartney. Trying to
right.
turn on the FaceTime, but it doesn't let me use my FaceTime.
All right,
So
we'll keep working on it. Keep working on it. I have not called your case yet. Supervised Monday, Wednesday, great. Paternal GP until further order of the court. In order for him to not have supervised, he'll have to obtain a drug and alcohol evaluation, wear a scram unit for a minimum of 30 days, and have enrolled in treatment or some treatment recommendations. Okay, now what are we gonna do about child support? Is he still ordered to pay the $338?
So Judge, we have requested a new child support based on my client having proposed primary residential custody,
Okay.
which nets a $541 a month child support obligation for Mr. Patterson. We filed our motion in January, so I'm asking that be effective February 1st, especially since Ms. Flackenacker's had residential custody this entire time. I am also.
I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and the 338's doing up till March 1. And March 1, then it will become 541.
Okay.
Do you have a IWO in place?
So yeah, so I can file one with the new amount. I think there wasn't one with the previous. I was not Ms. Flackenacker's attorney when they finalized things. I don't think there was an income holdover that was done there, mainly because he has an arrearage through January 31st. I know I can't do February yet, it's not at the end of the month, of $1,848. I checked the KPC before the hearing.
Okay, whatever the arrearage is, put that in the journal entry as a judgment. I mean, it's already a judgment when due, but just go ahead and put it in as a judgment so it's real clear. And then you better add $50 a month for arrearages.
Okay. And then I will do an IOO, Your Honor, for the new amount and the $50.
Perfect. Anything else?
The only thing I wanted to clarify, so for the supervisor, we did say great grandmother or any of his other family members as agreed upon. I just want to make sure the court's okay with that. I think he has parents, mom and dad, and a sister that my client's close with. Grandma is just who Mr. Patterson was living with for a period of time, and I think has the closest relationship with Parker. But I wanted to make sure the court was okay if we added that language, and then that he have reasonable phone contact.
Yes, or phone / FaceTime.
Okay.
PAP boy, was he 2? He's not very old for FaceTime, is he? Is he 3?
Yeah, he's 2, correct? Yeah, he's 2. Not very old for FaceTime, but sometimes I think it works. So
okay. All righty. Yep, just journalize it.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Thank you. We're gonna go on the record.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
And Sarah McCartney versus Danny McCartney. Ms. McCartney appears with counsel. It's O'Hara Gehring. Mr. McCartney is self-represented. Okay. I know you want to argue. Let me just tell you, just kind of looking this over, Morgan, I am not inclined to change the kids' schools at this point right now. And I don't know how your client can manage every other week shared, but that's the existing order. I understand that hasn't been the de facto situation, but I don't know how she can do that and get the kids to school every day. What I would propose, if the kids aren't have to be involved in weekend activities for right now, just to let her have every weekend from, a Friday time until a Sunday, or if she wants to take them to school Monday morning, that's fine. Mr. McCartney, I received a letter about Ms. McCartney's recovery and her progress. It's pretty impressive, actually. We'll forward is there any objection to me forwarding this to him?
No, I
We
think
have-
I got it. I think I got it this
Also.
morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. that-
Can't do LPC anymore. So he moved to Mulvane, then she moved to Sedan. I was gonna Google the distance. I'm sure it's fairly significant. I'm trying to think where Sedan, I never go to Sedan.
It appears to me it's over an hour.
Okay,
I'm sure the parties could confirm that, but from what I just Googled on my phone, it appears to be over an hour.
did your client move there because, of her treatment program, the job, work program, or she has family there? Is there some reason she is there? Is it permanent?
Your Honor, it's my understanding it is, and it's for work. She went to treatment there, and she has work there, and she has a strong, support network there for her. So my understanding from my client is that that Mr. McCartney is intending to also move the children to Harper, Kansas. So my understanding is he's trying to move the children to school as well. But I mean, he unilaterally changed their school on his own. And so you're in our position, they should be back with their mother. That's who they really always lived with.
Right, except that they were going to the Augusta schools, I think. So,
Yes, and Mr. McCartney just didn't return them one day and then switched their schools unilaterally. And then my client tried to involve the police and they wouldn't do anything. So she had to save up money to get an attorney and filed her motion as soon as she could.
okay.
But money wasn't an issue.
Mr. McCartney.
Okay.
So these are twins, a boy and a girl, right?
Well, they are actually what they call Irish twins. One was born in January of 2012. One was born in November of 2012.
Okay. Same grade though?
No,
No, different grades. What are
Yep. They're a year apart. So
okay.
one's in fifth grade, one's in sixth grade.
Who's the oldest?
The girl, Brooklyn.
Okay. Any necessary weekend activities?
She's playing basketball. Yep. Her final game of the regular season is Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then the next Monday she starts her tournament. So they don't have school that Monday. And actually, I'm scheduled. Me and Sarah's mom have been in good contact, and the kids went to her house last weekend, in fact, and she returned them. And they're supposed to go after the game Saturday to her house, and then she was going to bring her to the Monday evening. She begins her tournament for the basketball in Rose Hill. She's playing for a Rose Hill team as well. She played for Mulvane, but that season's over. Now she's playing for Rose Hill as well.
Okay, so where do you work?
I work in Wichita at GTG Peterbilt.
How long have you worked there?
Over a year. I started there in November of the previous year. So November of 2023, I'd been there a year. So
Okay.
in 3 months. My previous job, I'd been at it over 7 years, and then before that, 9 years.
Okay.
I've only had three jobs, all mechanic jobs, since I've been out of high school.
Okay, so you're a mechanic, not a driver. And
Nope.
Is that in West Wichita? Where do you go to work?
Yep, I go to West Wichita there. It's in front of the Cotillion.
Okay. Why are you do you have a girlfriend or something?
I do.
Is she living with you?
Yes.
How many kids does she have?
She has one boy.
Does she have him full time?
Yes.
And how old is he?
He's 8.
And are you contemplating moving to Harper or moving?
I always have, even when I was married to Sarah. That's been my end goal. We lived in El Dorado when we first got married, and we bought a house right when we first got married. and it was too small for the kids that we had very suddenly in 1 year. So we tried to sell that house and we never could get it sold. So we had to find a rental. And that's when we moved to Augusta. My job at the time was still close to Augusta. So we just moved down the road to Augusta and was renting. And I've always been looking to buy once I got my credit back up from that previous first time I bought my home.
Okay, so you're renting in Mulvane.
Yeah. Well, I was renting in Augusta, and the reason I had to move is the landlord. I'd been there for 7 years, and the landlord's husband passed away abruptly. He had a brain hemorrhage, and so she reevaluated. She had a bunch of properties, and she reevaluated her situation and decided to sell her properties. So I had 45 days to move, and so we moved to a place right off the turnpike. It's in Mulvane. I mean, it's the address is Mulvane, but we're right off the turnpike by the Kansas Star Casino area.
Okay, and where were you born, or where are any parents or siblings at?
Yeah. Harper, Kansas. Yep, that's where my mom and dad and my brother lives. My brother's a school teacher. Well, he's an athletic director in Attica, which is a school there in Harper.
How far away is Harper?
From Augusta or Sedan or Wichita, because the kids all their dentist and doctor and everything's in Wichita. We're just 20 minutes away right now. That's why we stayed so close.
So how far is it from Wichita?
Right now, or Harper? Harper is 45 minutes.
Which way?
Southwest on K. You take K42 down to Highway 2.
Okay. And where is her family from?
Augusta, and she has her mom lives there, and I think that one brother.
Okay.
But I am trying. I filed paperwork to do this a while back, but so when I changed jobs, I tried to move then. I changed jobs in November so it's 24. So November of 22, I tried to buy a house in Harper then, and it fell through.
Okay.
And I didn't have the kids full time then. We were still going to do what we had been doing, and but since then I've reapplied to get a home, and I actually have a contract on one in Harper. But right now the kids go to school in Mulvane, and that's where they'll be going to school until the end of the year.
All right. Well, yeah, I was gonna say I don't want you moving anywhere else without court permission. I certainly don't want you moving the kids out of the school they're in until they finish the school year. And hopefully their grades are good and they're doing fine in school. But I do acknowledge that on 12/21 of 23, you filed a motion to modify parenting time. I'm not sure why well, I mean, it takes 30 days to get usually on the docket, just status case. So in the interim, she's hired an attorney. She's in recovery. And it indicates that she had primary residential. I mean, I would not be opposed to going back to an every other week schedule if the parties thought they could manage it and keep the kids in school and keep their grades good. And, that's a lot for her recovery though, Ms. O'Hara, to have all that responsibility. That's why I kind of thought if she just went into the weekends, and had them on the weekends, she could manage her job, manage her treatment, and see the kids on weekends for now. And then I would set it for a custody hearing. This is going to become very complicated if she stays in Sedan and he moves to Harper. So I'm going to be looking at where the kids should go to school. There's no reason to keep the kids in the school where, in fact, I don't even know what the current status is on transfer students of kids being able to stay in districts when they move. But I just don't think that's a very good idea. So, I mean, I understand. And if you want me to set this over in the next 2 weeks you can find a date and I can do a more of a trial in person, I'm happy to do that. But I'm trying to accomplish what I can. I understand what your client had, but I mean, I think in all honesty and candor, she has to admit that she relapsed, had issues, and had to go into treatment. And so that sort of thwarted the whole shared custody or even primary residential that she had prior to that. And so that's what I'm inclined to do is the weekends for her right now, and look at shared for the summer and a trial date in the summer. So I can decide by fall where they're going to primarily live and go to school, because they can't, I don't know how far Sedan and Harper are.
Yeah, that's like, I looked it up. It's like 2.5 hours, over 2 hours.
I
And
just
I'd
want
like
to state that my understanding from what my client would testify to is that she did not begin going to treatment until after Mr. McCartney withheld the children from her. He created the situation and refused to return them. She was not, is my understanding, in treatment that precipitated this action. She ended up going to it afterwards. I think she was pretty down in the dumps because there was nothing she could do. She didn't have money to hire an attorney, and then reverted to, as my understanding, the drinking got worse. But it wasn't
No,
the reason that he
no.
took the children. It was
Oh,
that she.
hang on, Mr. McCartney. Why don't you cross-examine him about these things? So you're still under oath, Mr. They're alleging that you violated not only the court order, but the de facto situation, which appeared to be more of a residential custody that she had of the children by not turning them over during what should have been her time. So that's their allegation. I understand that you filed a motion to modify, but you can't withhold children without getting protection orders or getting DCF or someone involved to say they're at risk.
Until Monday.
Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on. All right. Cross-examination, Ms. Gehring.
Mr. McCartney, isn't it true that prior to October of 2023 that the children were only visiting you on weekends?
Prior to 2023, you mean like their whole life? Or are you talking
Prior
about
to October of 2023, you were
moved,
only seeing the children on weekends, isn't that true?
no, I would get them on weekends, my holidays, anytime, school was out, the stuff like that. Yes. But
Okay,
yes,
during the school week, the children would be with their mother Monday through Friday, isn't that true?
no, because they mainly stayed with their grandmother.
Okay, so they stayed with their grandmother in Wichita. Is that your testimony?
No, in Augusta.
Okay. But you filled out a uniform child custody jurisdiction enforcement affidavit in which you stated that the children, when you filled this out in December, had lived with their mother February 2021 to the present in Augusta, Kansas. Isn't that true?
I don't know what document you're talking about, but no, they stayed with, when I lived in Augusta, they mainly stayed at my house on 1225 Gulf Street.
Okay, but you then moved to Mulvane in October of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And then the children continued to attend Augusta schools. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And during the week, they did not stay at your residence during the school year. Isn't that true?
Oh, correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, and then when in October, at the end of October of 2023, you failed to return the children to their school on Monday, October 30th. Isn't that true? Yes or no?
October, I did not return them to their mother the Sunday before that, so the 21st of October.
Okay, so they were to return to their mother on a Sunday and you didn't return them. Is that correct?
Well, actually, what we had been doing was, when I got them, I would pick them up every Friday after I got off of work in West Wichita, pick them up in Augusta, And then on Sunday evenings at 6 p.m., we would meet in Wichita at Hillside at the Quick Trip on Hillside and Kellogg. And for several weeks leading up to it, she would not be able to drive the car there to meet me. So she would have me bring them all the way to Augusta, and I would usually have to, by her request, take them to her mother's house. And to the best of my knowledge, they stayed at her mother's house for most of the school year so that either her or her friends could get them to and from school.
Okay. But you
did that
you
knowingly,
did
yes,
exchanges
because I
on
have a good
Fridays and Sundays, correct?
Do what?
You did exchanges of the children on Fridays and Sundays, correct?
Yeah, school got out or like on a Thursday or something. Yes.
And then you were to return the children to their mother on a Sunday evening in
And
October.
she was able
True?
to get.
Yes or no?
Yep. She did not. Yep. She did not
You
pick them
did
up.
not return them, correct?
Yeah, I could. I took him to the Hillside at Quick Trip, and nobody was there. I did not leave them at Hillside and Quick Trip. No.
Okay, so then you kept the children after that and didn't have them go to their school, which was Augusta school on the following Monday, correct?
Yep. So then that following Monday, I
Yes
called.
or no? Yes,
Yes.
you didn't return them.
Yes.
And then you switched their schools, correct?
No, not right off. Nope.
Okay, you didn't make any effort to contact Ms. McCartney after you failed to return them, correct?
Yeah. So I was in contact with her still then.
You were in contact with her when you were withholding the children?
Yes, I was in contact with her.
Okay, and what did you tell her at that time?
What do you? I was asking about the involvement of DCF and her lashing out at kids. My son felt threatened and abused, and did not want to go to his mother's. He had not been staying at his mother's for months, as I had found out that first reported. And it was
Your Honor, object is non-responsive. The question was specifically as to what you
I'm just supposed to
her
answer
about.
yes or no, Your Honor. I can't see you. All I can see is her. Am I just supposed to answer yes or no? Or am I supposed to?
Yeah, that's what cross-examination is. Yes,
I'm not
that's why
sure.
people get attorney. So,
What were
yeah,
you,
I was trying to get an attorney. DCF actually referred me to.
objection, Your Honor, it
purposes.
continues to be non-responsive to the question.
okay. You need to restate your question, please.
Mr. McCartney, after you withheld the children from their mother, you have testified that you were in contact with her after that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, what did you tell her after you withheld the children?
I don't know what you're wanting me to say.
Well, what did you communicate with her about?
I asked her why they had not been going to school because the school records showed they'd been missing school.
Do you have their school records from their attendance?
I do not.
Okay, so you have no idea how many absences they'd had up to that point. Isn't that true?
Not off of hand, no. Not until I got in contact with the school then.
After you chose to withhold the children from their mother, you did not make any efforts to return them to their mother. Isn't that true?
Because my son
Yes or no?
begged and pleaded with me to not go to
Mr.
his mother.
McCartney, yes or no? You made no effort to return the children to their mother. Isn't that true?
No.
What
I showed
efforts did you make to return the children to their mother after you refused to return them in October of 2023?
I showed up at Quick Trip to return them at 6 p.m.
Okay, after that, you didn't make any effort to take them to their mother after that date. Isn't that true?
On Tuesday, after that, I tried, but there was still no response from her. She couldn't drive and operate a motor vehicle or do anything. So there was no way of getting to a meeting point.
So you tried to return them to her the following Tuesday on October 31st of 2023. Is that correct?
As far as I can remember, yeah.
Okay, and
Yes.
you were provided the findings from the Department of Children and Families from their investigation in 2023. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And they were all unsubstantiated, correct?
Which one are you talking about?
Well, there was a
Previous-
report of 12/28/23 that unsubstantiated any physical abuse by their mother. Isn't that true?
So that was 12/28, and this we're talking about October. That
Okay,
was
well,
month.
there was an investigation in which a report came out in December of 2023 that unsubstantiated any allegations against the mother. Isn't that true?
I don't know anything about that. No.
And Mr. McCartney, you were provided, I think you advised the court that you received a letter from Ms. McCartney's treatment provider that was provided today. Isn't that true?
This morning, yeah.
Okay, and in that, it stated that she didn't begin her treatment until November 9th of 2023. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And that was after you withheld the children from her. Isn't that true?
Yes.
So you agree that she was not in treatment when you chose to keep the children from her. Isn't that true?
She was not in treatment. No.
Okay. And
But
you
she was
didn't
not-
advise the court when you filed your motion that, I'm sorry, when you filed your motion, you told them that the reason that you needed the children is because she was in treatment. Isn't that true?
When I filed the motion, yes.
Okay.
And that was
At the time you withheld the children from their mother, she was not in treatment at that time, correct?
correct.
And you didn't have any court order that authorized you to keep the children from their mother. Isn't that true?
A court order? No.
Okay.
I had the
And why did you not, you live in Mulvane, Kansas, correct?
yes.
How
Decided-
far is Mulvane from Augusta?
I don't know. Maybe less than an hour, I would say.
Okay, the children
50
have been
minutes, 50
attending,
minutes.
the children had been attending Augusta schools for how long before you took them out in October of 2023?
Their whole life.
Okay, and so you never made any effort to return them to the Augusta schools after you took the children, did you?
Yes, I did. To the Augusta schools? Yes, ma'am. I did not return them to their mother, no. But
Okay.
I did return them to the Augusta schools. And that's why I changed schools after talking with the school counselor and the school principal.
Okay, they missed, what's
Then
the date that they returned to the Augusta schools after you took custody?
I would have to look at my phone. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Isn't it true that they never went back to the Augusta schools?
Physically?
Correct.
Correct.
And at no time did you ever discuss switching the children's schools with their mother, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you told them that you told her you were gonna switch schools?
Yes.
Okay, when did you tell her
my
that?
mom-
When did you tell her that?
October of before we did it, because my daughter begged and pleaded with her.
Okay, so before you took the
Her to get
children and
My
Mr.
daughter
McCartney,
begged-
before you took the children and withheld them from their mother, you told her that you were gonna switch the kids' schools. Is that your testimony?
Say that again.
Before you withheld the children and refused to bring them back to their mother, you had already decided to change the children's schools. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, when did you decide to change the children's school?
October. Let me look here. I have some notes. So you're saying October 22nd is when she could not pick up the kids because she couldn't meet me at Quick Trip.
Mr. McCartney, I'm not testifying and I did not say that. I'm asking you, when did you make the decision to have the
October-
children switch schools?
October 25th, after I talked to Officer Bohannon at the Mulvane School District, and I had my kids talk to him as well.
Okay, and so you chose to switch their school without talking to their mother, correct?
No, I told their mother, I asked their mother to please go get treatment for your kids and for yourself, and to let them go to school in Mulvane until she can recover.
Okay, when did you tell her that?
October 25th.
On October 25th of 2023, you had made the decision that the children would switch schools, and that's when you say you advised their mother. Is that correct?
Yes, and I asked their mother. Well, I tried to get emergency change of education is what the officer recommended.
Yeah, I'm gonna object to anything that is hearsay in this non-responsive
Sustain.
question.
Sustain.
Mr. McCartney, if you'll please just answer the question that's asked. You told Ms. McCart, you told the mother that you were switching the schools. You didn't ask her if she agreed. Isn't that true?
No, I asked her.
Okay, so you asked if she would agree.
She agreed to
Yes or
go.
no? Did you ask her if she would agree?
I asked her.
And was her response no?
No, she decided to get the treatment.
Okay. Mr.
And
McCartney, my question is, their mother did not agree for the children to switch schools. Isn't that true?
True.
Okay, so
Yep.
you unilaterally switched the schools over mom's objection, correct?
Okay.
Yes or no?
According to you, I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, if I'm looking out for the best interest of my kids, then no.
Mr. McCartney, when does your house close? You have you're under contract in a house for a home in Harper, Kansas. Is that correct?
It still has to get appraisal and stuff like that. That's
okay. When is that gonna? When do you expect that you would close on this house?
I'm not sure. I don't know yet.
Okay. Is it going to be in the next few months?
I don't know. It depends on if I get approved for the loan and this, that, and the other. I don't know yet.
And if you get approved and the house closes, do you intend to move immediately?
No.
Okay.
We still have access to this house that we'll be continuing school at Mulvane for the rest of the year.
Okay. And your daughters had to switch schools in the middle of this school year, correct?
Drastically, yeah.
Okay. And were the girls, I'm sorry, were your children able to adapt easily to the new school?
They are, right. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Mr. McCartney, were your children able to adapt easily to the change of schools this year?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that they would be able to adapt easily to another change in school this year?
This year, no.
So it was okay to do it one time this year, but another change they couldn't do. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And why is that?
We'd be going backwards. We've made so much progress with Rudy that we'd be going backwards.
And Mr. McCartney, you are a registered setter, is that correct?
And I have several witnesses and people that would.
Mr. McCartney, I'm objecting to non-responsive to the question.
Okay, what does that have to do with anything?
Are you a registered, Mr. McCartney?
Yes.
Okay. And how old was the victim of the crime that you were convicted of?
Over 30 years old.
And do you have to register, and do you currently register under?
Yep. And I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm off of probation. I currently register. I've done everything that I'm supposed to do.
Okay. And
I'm clean with the state and the counties and everything. So I don't know why that would have anything to do with my kids.
Because by statute, it is a consideration for the court.
Okay.
Were you registered before the kids were born or when you were with Miss McCartney?
When I was with her. Yep.
Your Honor, it's my understanding, my client would testify that it was one of the reasons the parties ended up splitting up. I believe he was, from what I can see, he was convicted in 2018. I think this case was filed in 2018.
Okay. Go ahead.
And Mr. McCartney, in the motion filed by the mother in this case, well, before I go to that, let me ask you, isn't it true that you have refused to allow mother to have any contact with the children since you took them in October of 2023, unless she saw them at your home? Isn't that true?
No.
Okay, so have you allowed mom to have contact with the children outside your presence?
I have not been able to contact her. She changed her phone number and blocked me. I haven't been able to get a hold of her.
Okay, so you have not, so she hasn't had any contact with the children except in your presence. Isn't that true?
No, my daughter has a phone and she talks to her every day.
Okay. Has mother
My-
seen her children in person
Yes,
since you took the children?
yes,
Yes
we
or no?
met her. Yes, we met her
Okay.
at in Derby.
Mr. McCartney, it's just a yes or no. Has she seen the children in person since you took them?
Yes,
And it only occurred one time, isn't that true?
no,
How many times has it occurred?
at least 2, because she came to a basketball game as well.
Okay, so she came to one basketball game and then you allowed her to see him one time at your home, isn't that true?
No,
Okay, where did it occur?
we met in Derby at KFC.
And Mr. McCartney, mother has alleged in her motion that she has concerns about your use of marijuana. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I read the.
If the court were to order a drug test, would you be positive?
If I took a drug test,
Yes.
what do you? I mean, what are you talking about, for meth or something, or what
For
kind of?
any drugs at all, what would you be, would you test positive for marijuana or any other illegal drugs?
I might, yes.
And what would you test positive for?
Delta 8, THC, something like that. I also take an antidepressant. Can't
Is
think
there
of
any
it.
other drugs that would come up on a drug test?
No,
And have you used marijuana since the kids have been living with you?
not to my knowledge. No,
You don't know if you have?
no, have not.
So when
I'm
was
so-
the last time you used drugs?
Do you consider Delta 8 a drug? If it's
Well,
illegal,
let me ask you this way. Anything that would test positive on a drug test, when was the last time you utilized that, other than your antidepressant?
in the evening. So probably on a Sunday, last Sunday or something. I don't know.
So last Sunday you used Delta 8?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
When's the last time you used marijuana?
Do what? Sorry.
When is the last time you used marijuana?
Years. I have a CDL that I keep withstanding since I've been 18 years old.
When, isn't it true that the mother has contacted you multiple times since you took the children in October of 2023, asking to be able to see the children?
Say that again. You're cutting out. I'm sorry.
Isn't it true, since you took took custody of the children in October of 2023, that Ms. McCartney has contacted you multiple times asking to see the children?
I haven't been contacted from her since December 26th.
Okay, so prior to December 26th, she had been contacting you about seeing the children, correct?
Well, my daughter.
So is
And
that a yes?
they back and forth. Yeah, and they went back and forth to Augusta to their grandma's. She had opportunity to see them.
So you think that she could have an opportunity through her mother to see the children? Is that correct?
I mean, that's where they were staying to go to school. So yes, I would assume that's where they lived.
Okay, you didn't have contact with Ms. McCartney to know if to allow exchanges between you and the mother?
I did not have contact with her since December 26th.
Okay, my question to you was, prior to December 26th, mom had been contacting you asking to see the children. Isn't that true?
One time.
I don't have any further questions at this time.
All right. Do you wish to call any witnesses?
I'd like to call my client.
Okay.
And prior to the end of October of 2023, what was the parenting schedule that you and Mr. McCartney had been following for the children?
My children were with me during the week and they saw him Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Were the children usually returned to you on Sunday?
Yes.
Okay. And how long had you been following that schedule?
Since 2018.
Okay. And Mr. McCartney was having visitation every weekend, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Were the children living with your mother?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were they living with you?
Yes, they were.
Okay. And does your mother live in Wichita?
No, she does not.
Okay. Where does she live?
She lives in Augusta.
Okay. And but prior to October of 2023, where did you live?
I lived in Augusta.
Okay. But you did not live with your mother?
No, ma'am.
And the children resided with you, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And were you the one that would get them to and from school generally?
I would drop them off at my mom's at 7:15 in the morning because I had to be to work at 8 and my mom would take them to school.
Okay. And what happened in October of 2020? Well, let me ask you this. Let's see. Did Mr. McCartney have visitation for the weekend of October 27th, 2023 to October 29th of 2023?
Yes.
Okay. And then were you to do an exchange on Sunday, October 29th?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened?
I was ill with the flu and I asked him to bring the children to me and he refused.
Okay. And then after that, what happened?
He said, "Oh, I'm going to bring him back to Augusta," and never did, refused to bring them back, then enrolled them in schools.
Okay. And then enrolled them in the Mulvane schools?
Correct.
Did he ever tell you that he was going to do that before he did it?
No.
Did he ever ask it for your permission?
No.
Okay. And then, were you in treatment at the time that on October 29th of 2023?
No, I was not.
Okay. What happened after that? Well, let me ask you this. Did you end up enrolling in treatment November 9th of 2023?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you do this on your own volition?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Nobody told you that this is something that you had to do. There was no court order.
No, ma'am.
And you don't have any DUIs, arrests, or convictions, correct?
Ma'am.
Okay. And so did you do this as a precaution to take care of any problems that you might have?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then you have successfully completed that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And when did you successfully completed that on January 9th of 2024?
That is correct.
Okay. And then how far is the Augusta schools from Mr. McCartney's home?
I would say about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay. Did at any time he contact you about making efforts to try to keep them in the school that they were in?
No, he did not.
Okay. Have the children always attended Augusta schools?
Yes, they have.
Okay. And how far do you currently reside from Augusta?
An hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. And you have now moved to Sedan, Kansas, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And what did you move there? What was the reason that you moved there?
I moved here because I was offered a position through the pilot program since I was so successful with my treatment, and they offered me a position here at the facility. I work at the facility, and that's why I came here. I have a large support system of here.
Okay. And since this case has gone on, has Mr. McCartney made any comments to you about his intent to move to Harper, Kansas?
Yes. He has not. My daughter told me that.
And what did she tell you?
She said that they were planning to move to Harper and that she did not want to move there.
Okay. And has she has your daughter stated concerns about being at her father's home?
Yes, she has.
And what are those?
His drinking and drug use.
What type of drugs did she reference?
Marijuana.
Okay. Are there also what about your daughter's relationship with Mr. McCartney's girlfriend?
No, they do. My daughter does not like her, and it's been an issue since they began dating, and she has said derogatory things to both of my children.
Okay. Has your daughter stated anything about not wanting to go over there?
Yes, my ex-husband did not see my daughter for 3.5 months prior to the last weekend that he took them. And my daughter had decided to go because she thought maybe it would be good to see her dad. And then that's when he decided not to return them.
Okay, so up right before he took the children in October 29th of 2023 and didn't return them. Before that weekend, he saw your daughter that weekend, is that correct? Of October 29th, 2023?
Yeah, but hadn't seen her for 3 months prior, 3.5 months prior.
And why is that? Why had your daughter not seen her father?
Because she did not get along and she didn't feel safe there because of the drinking and the drug use, and did not get along with my ex-husband's girlfriend.
Had you advised him of those concerns?
Yes, I had.
Okay. And were you invested, was there some sort of allegation made in sometime in the fall of 2023 to the Department of Children and Families?
There were 7 investigations that I am aware of against Mr. McCartney and Miss Green.
Okay. Do you know what the result of those investigations were?
I don't know all of them, but they came to talk to me on several occasions.
Did you make the reports to DCF?
Absolutely not.
So of those 7 investigations, you're not the one that turned in Mr. McCartney or his girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then were you also investigated in the fall of 2023?
Yes, I was.
And what were the result of that investigation of alleged physical abuse of your 2 children?
Completely unfounded.
Okay, so they're both unsubstantiated?
Correct.
And you received a letter from DCF that showed that, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and prior to your children being switched schools, were they doing well in the Augusta schools?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My son had one-on-one care with his team, and my daughter has had straight A's ever since I've had her.
Okay. Have there ever been any issues with their attendance? During the time that they lived with you?
No.
Okay. And had you, and what kind of relationship do you have with both of your children?
I have an excellent relationship with my children.
Okay.
My son.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Son and I's relationship has been harder since he moved there, but I don't see him every day, but I've always had a great relationship with both of my kids.
Okay. And how many times have you seen your children since Mr. McCartney took them at the end of October 2023?
I've seen my children twice. Once because my daughter invited me to her basketball game and I showed up. And then once when we all met at KFC.
Okay. Had you asked Mr. McCartney on other occasions to be able to see your children?
I had.
Okay. And what was his response?
His response was, "You can see my children at my residence."
Okay. And did you have an issue with that?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because there is a history of violence between he and myself and me and his girlfriend. And I did not feel safe and did not feel it was appropriate for me to go to their residence to have visits with my children when he has no grounds to do so.
Okay. And you didn't feel comfortable going to their home because of that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Were there instances of domestic violence during your relationship with Mr. McCartney?
Absolutely. Actually, when I filed for divorce, I lived in a safe house for 4.5 months.
Okay. And was that the result of physical violence by Mr. McCartney?
It was.
Okay. Were the police ever involved in any of those instances?
Yes, they were.
Was Mr. McCartney ever arrested?
No.
Have you had contact with your children by phone or text message since they were taken from you at the end of October 2023?
By phone.
Okay, do you have more contact with? I mean, which children do you primarily contact with? And
I speak to both of them. I speak to my daughter daily.
Okay, and how is she doing at her current school? to your
She
knowledge?
doesn't. She wants to live with me.
Okay. And how does she feel about the current living arrangement?
She doesn't like it.
Okay. What about your son?
My son doesn't like the school district because it's very large. It's twice as big as what he was used to. And he doesn't have the one-on-one attention that he had previously. And so it's been a struggle for him to adjust.
Okay. And so what are the school, how is the Sedan school comparable with like Augusta or the Mulvane, to your knowledge?
It's actually, the Sedan School District is actually smaller. I've taken a tour of the school. They have an excellent special education department, great sports teams, and all of that. Great teachers, administration, all of the things.
And how far do you currently live from the school?
I live maybe a block and a half, 2 blocks.
And how many bedrooms do you have in your home?
I do have 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms.
And would both children have their own room?
That is correct.
Okay. And does anybody else live with you other than if the court would allow your 2 children and yourself?
No.
Okay. And to your knowledge, what is Mr. McCartney's home arrangement with like bedrooms and such?
Mr. McCartney currently lives in his girlfriend's father's home. There is not enough bedrooms for my children. My 11 and 12-year-old currently sleep in bunk beds in a shared room together, while her son has his own room, and they have a room of their own in a 3-bedroom.
Do you have concerns about your 11 and 12-year-old boy and girl sharing a room?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you think it's appropriate at that age for them to be sharing a room?
Absolutely not.
Has your daughter stated any, concerns about her comfort level with sharing a room at this age?
Not so much, other than she just started her period, and privacy is nicer, but she is very protective of her brother.
Okay. And are you asking the court to have the children revert back to living with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. And are you clean and sober?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And with that, the children would again have to switch schools. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. But do you think it's in their best interest to live primarily with you, even if that means they have to switch schools now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. If the court is not inclined to do so, and if the court, as stated, wants the children to finish out the school year at their current school, would you be able to transport them on a shared schedule, having equal parenting time, or would that be difficult with your work?
It's not ideal, but I would do anything for my children.
Okay, so if the court says we'll give you 50-50 right now, would you be willing to make that drive to have them stay at the Mulvane schools?
I would prefer that they be moved with me.
Okay. And the Augusta schools, is that closer than what Mulvane would be to you?
Yes, absolutely.
So, is Augusta more of it's significantly closer than the Mulvane school would be?
Yes.
So if the court says, they don't want to switch them schools again, but if they went back to their previous school, would that even be better than having them stay at Mulvane?
Absolutely.
And would you be able to get them to school so they could attend Augusta schools again?
Absolutely.
Okay. Your Honor, I don't have any further questions at this time.
Are you able to see that your daughter gets to her basketball game on Saturday and her tournament on Monday evening, apparently?
Yes.
No, I'm asking Ms. McCartney.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Are you able to see that your daughter, if you would get your children this Friday, are you able to make sure she goes to her game on Saturday and her tournament on Monday?
I could make arrangements for that. I am scheduled to work, however.
Can you hear me, Your Honor?
Yeah, I can hear you. So do you have any questions for Ms. McCartney? Do you have any, this is cross-examination for you since you're self-represented. You cannot testify or make statements or be argumentative, but you can ask leading questions, yes and no questions. You can ask her questions as part of your cross-examination of her.
So I could ask her if she was completely sober before I took the kids, and like she's asking, like she's attaining to, that I'm the reason that she went to rehab.
Yep, you can ask her whatever questions you want.
Okay. I don't know.
To, and then I'll rule.
But I was just going to state that Friday the
state anything, you need to ask her questions.
Okay. No, I don't have a lawyer, so I don't want to ask her any questions. I was just Friday. I have the kids are out of school and I have them scheduled for dentist appointments, and that they've been on that for months. So that would really suck, but I'd have to get them on the dentist schedule again. They've been on.
Do they have school on Monday?
No.
When is their spring break?
I would have to look that up for sure. Certain.
What time is her game on Saturday?
It is at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And it's in Rose Hill.
Okay. This is the problem. I tell people, especially pro se people, when they do their own divorces and custody, and I understand that there were attorneys involved in your cases, but nonetheless, I try to make it clear, and I assume attorneys will make it clear to their clients, do not change whatever the court order is without going and getting a new court order. Or if you make a change, as soon as practically possible, you need to get to the courthouse and change the court order to reflect what you are actually doing. Because when people make all kinds of changes, they don't change the court records, then the court file and the orders on file are not keeping up with what's going on with the parties. So, I understand when people separate and they don't have any plan in place, that there's some de facto things that can occur before an action gets filed. But once an action is filed and there is an order on file, the court expects that you follow the order until you make a request to change the order. And I think that we are quite open to pro se motions by people. If you contact the court and tell them what's going on, we try to give you direction. You can fill out your own paperwork. Nobody did anything here to involve the court, who has jurisdiction of the children from the time that you guys got divorced and I entered a custody order. And that custody order was in your divorce decree, and it was filed or signed by me on October the 30th of 2019. And from what I can tell with your file, that's the current order in place. And in that order, Mr. McCartney, it says specifically that you're not to remove the kids from the Augusta school without a written agreement between the two of you and an order or an order of the court. That's in your order. I expect people to read their orders. I expect them to go by their orders and tell her unless they get them changed. So the problem is, who do I punish and how do I punish them? And how do I prevent punishing the children? And I don't know the answer to that because I don't have enough information. I don't have information from the kids. I don't have information from the school counselors. I don't have information from the people in Augusta. I don't have information from the people in Mulvey. I don't have information. I did just see the conviction information from 2018 because we have access to that with you, Mr. McCartney, but I don't have the SRS reports. I don't know what the claims have been since I ordered this arrangement. So I think all I can do is revert back to the 2-2-3 schedule. Starting with mom on Friday. And so I assume their appointments are done by 3. She can pick up the children, and your daughter may have to miss her last basketball game unless she can get her there. And then return her Monday for evening tournament. And then go back to the schedule, the rotation that you were on. And then I'm going to have a trial right after the beginning of summer. Oh, hang on. Give me just a minute. My computer's going dead. So I'm going to have to decide whether they're going to go to Harper School and whether or not they're going to go to Sedan. I don't even know. I don't think that's West Elk. I think that's a different, they have their own school system, but I guess I'm going to have to hear a day or two of testimony. Meanwhile, I'm going to appoint a guardian ad litem, Josh Andrews, to investigate the circumstances. He can compile the information, make a recommendation to the court what's in the kid's best interest. Because I can't figure that out right now. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to make this schedule work. I am not going to pull the kids out of school right now. I do want Miss McCartney to have the kids for spring break that week. And I'm going to set this for review in April. And if Mr. Andrews recommends that the kids go back to Augusta, that's what we'll do.
Even though
I just don't want to do anything today. It's obvious that they may have to change schools next year. I just don't know what's best for them. We'll have a trial on that. So we can review the case April the 11th, or let's see, I had a better day here, I think. March 25th to see how it's going. Does that work for you in the morning, Miss Gehring?
Is that by Zoom, the same docket?
Yes. Well,
That works for me.
yeah.
What time in the
9,
morning?
30, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30. What would you like?
10:30.
Okay.
And did you say it's by Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the 25th? Okay.
It's a status.
Okay.
I'll do an order appointing Mr. Andrews as a GAL so he can get started on the case.
And Your Honor, so the order is that the kids are not to change schools and that we go back to the prior court order for visitation that's in effect? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And that she get spring break.
Okay. And Mom gets spring break. Okay. Do you want me to do an order?
Yes. So if
Okay.
he goes to Harper, he can't change them either. They have to stay in
yeah.
there to finish out the semester. And then can you try the case on June 3rd, June 5th, or June 6th if I set it for a full day?
The 5th works probably the best for me.
Okay, so I'm gonna schedule this from 9 to 5 on Wednesday, June 5th for a trial. I'm gonna keep it, what do you have on Thursday the 6th?
I don't have anything. I can keep that open too.
Okay, I'm gonna do 2 days for you because if we end up having therapists and school records and yeah, there could be quite a bit of testimony. Grandmas and girlfriends and whoever else.
And that's in person, correct?
This will be in person, yes. And this is a determination for me to decide primary, residential, and school. Because shared's not going to work. Even if she moves back to Augusta, close to her mom. Harper's too far. And I just don't think long-term the 223 is going to work. I think somebody has to have primary residential that has the kids for the school,
Okay.
in the school. So I don't want the parties visiting with the kids about this custody or litigation other than to tell them what the court ordered today. Let the guardian ad litem visit with them about how they felt about Augusta and how they feel about Mulvane, how they feel about Harper, and how they feel about Sedan, and how they feel about not seeing one parent or the other, and how they feel about their athletics and the other people in their lives that have been brought into their lives and all that kind of thing. Let them express that through an independent party, please. Did you have a question, Mr. McCartney?
Nope.
Do you understand what we're doing?
Yes. So I dates written down. And do I need to get on a lawyer then? Because that was my proactive trying to do. I didn't do a very good job, I guess. I'm sorry of that, Your Honor.
Well, yeah,
I tried getting one, but
something in December, but you should have filed something in October, especially if you're going to take the kids out of school contrary to a court order. And obviously that's something that's going to be not bode in your favor overall in looking at things when we have the trial. I mean, they can still show that you violated a court order, withheld the kids. That's one of the considerations for custody is one parent alienating the other or not promoting a relationship with the other. That's a factor. So it still may come up to haunt you, but for now they're going to stay at the school, and hopefully Miss McCartney can make it work. She says she will, because she'll do anything for her kids, but she's got quite a bit on her plate. I think that there needs to be a way for the parties to communicate. Do you think they can do that about the kids by text or email, Ms. Gehring, or Family Wizard, or what do you suggest? The cost of the guardian ad litem are going to have to be shared 50-50. So they've got that cost already.
Your Honor, I don't know. I haven't discussed that with my client. I'd be happy with her to answer that if she'd rather do it by text. I think it probably needs to be done in writing some way, either by text message or one of those apps that allows communication. Ms. McCartney, what do you prefer?
Text messaging is fine, and he has had my phone number. I spoke to him last via text on January 25th of this year.
Okay. So if there are any problems, one can't pick up or can't get them to school, the priority is making sure they attend school, making sure they get time with each parent, and then making sure that they're not punished in terms of not being able to do any extracurricular things. So do your best, and I'll get you to trial as soon as I can, and I'll check the status of things, and I'll get a guardian ad litem involved to start.
Your Honor, could we have I don't know if Mr. McCartney's going to get an attorney, but could he provide us like just with his current contact information so we can make sure we don't have an issue? Yeah. If that would be okay, if he could provide that.
Yes. Mr. McCartney, what is your address? Okay. And what about email?
gmail.com.